Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But anyway, I'm Slim, and we're here with host Leah and the Colonel and guest host Mark. And we have a special guest with us this morning to have a discussion, and it will be the mayor of the city of Portsmouth, Virginia, Shannon Glover. Good morning, everybody, first.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good
Morning,
morning.
morning.
All right, what a good way to start off the week. I mean, we had a weekend that was kind of nice as far as weather was concerned. We had a little bit of rain, but the temperatures were pretty good for this time of the
Oh,
year. So
beautiful.
Yes.
yeah, usually we'd be kind of shaking in our boots, but we'll deal with it one way or another. But anyway, we have the mayor of Portsmouth here with us, and we're gonna, as the year ends, it's good for us to sort of look forward and talk about the future, or especially next year with all the elections locally and nationally. And but you can't talk about the future without, sort of going back and discussing some things leading up to this point. So we're gonna do that too. I'm sure the host's gonna have some questions for our mayor, and but we'll start off, Mayor, if you will, if you like to have an opening statement, it can be what you want, and then we can start our discussion.
Well, first of all, James, I want to thank you and the Coffee Talk team for having me on this morning. It's always a pleasure when I can get in front of the community and particularly working with folks like yourselves to kind of talk about how we're doing in our city. First of all, I want to start out by saying, and you've heard me say this before, Portsmouth, our city is winning, and when I say winning, we recognize that by some of the accomplishments that we are having in our city. And in addition to that, some of the things that we have done in this past year that I think will have a more positive effect on our city as we go forward. So I am looking forward to continuing to lead our city in the most progressive and positive way, understanding that we have challenges to overcome as most cities do, but we are focused on ensuring that we create a city that is welcoming, vibrant, that is improving the quality of life for all of our citizens so that we can have folks to come here to work, live, and play. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Leah, would you like to lead off any discussions with the mayor this morning?
Well, yes. How you doing, Shannon, my friend?
I am doing outstanding.
That's wonderful. Shannon, what are we looking forward to with the General Assembly getting ready to convene in January? What plans are there from the city? What proposals are being made to the General Assembly on behalf of the city this year?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, as you know, this will be a long session of the General Assembly, and we have some asks, and some of those asks go into our legislative package. I can tell you that we're asking for, uh, in terms of education, for the General Assembly to bring back some information regarding funding of education. And that's a big challenge. And as you know, at the state level, the formula for funding our public schools hasn't changed probably in the last 50 or 60 years. So we're asking for that to be looked into and something to come out of that in terms of a more equitable solution. In addition to that, we're going to be asking after we convene what can be done about helping us to cover the cost of some of our big ticket items. For example, our waterfront development, other things in addition to perhaps figuring out the dilemma with our regional jail and those types of things. So we're going to be asking that the General Assembly provide financial support and guidance, and also work with us to meet those goals that we have set forward.
And have they been talking? Have you been meeting or discussing with any groups what possibilities there are going to be for the waterfront?
Well, so what we have done is we sent out a request, and we have met with a group from Richmond to give us a feasibility report. basically what can we do, what makes sense based on feedback from many different stakeholders in the city. So we had those meetings probably about 3 weeks ago at our economic development office with the consultants to kind of help guide us in that conversation. But make no mistake about it, I am really excited about what may take place, what will take place in the future on those properties that we have down on the waterfront. We will plan as a council to also come together in 2024 with a retreat, which will involve the community and others to kind of understand what the community envisions in that space as well. And throughout the year and throughout this process, there will be engagement opportunities with the communities and others who have a stake in the success of that venture.
And one last question before the others jump in. The Innovation District, can you share with the public what's taking place with the Innovation District? Because a lot of people really don't know about the Innovation District and what the plans are for it.
Okay, so real quick, the Innovation District is the area west of Effingham, all the way to the MLK connector. And what the city did was we looked at how can we attract different companies, different businesses, different opportunities to revitalize that area. As you all are aware, the federal government provided a $19 million grant in order for us to improve the infrastructure in that innovation corridor, and it was matched. I think the state put up about $4 million. What we envision in the innovation district, and they have already engaged in public meetings, stakeholder meetings. In fact, last week they had a meeting of the innovation district to kind of once again bring the community together to kind of talk about what the plan is. Ultimately, the vision will be to bring in different types of businesses there, different types of housing that will provide density and build up the corridor. So, for example, technology companies, startup companies that may be looking at opportunities, another hotel perhaps in that corridor, maybe something like a courtyard. These are the types of things that we have discussed as a group and as a city, but it is an ongoing conversation, really something to be excited about because, as you know, that corridor has not had real development in quite some time. And as we develop that corridor, we know that once we bring those things to the city, it's going to be a success. I will say we are very pleased to have the Hampton Roads Community Health Center relocate in the Innovation District. That gives us another healthcare opportunity to provide services to our citizens, which is on the main bus route and accessible to the citizens here in the city of Portsmouth.
Mayor, let me ask this before, and excuse me, the Colonel and Mark, I just wanted to get this in because as you were talking about some of the things you've talked about so far, and I know it's be many more, and as we just look back over the past, I think the attention that the Portsmouth City Council has gotten is, some of the friction on the council and things like that. Has there been any discussion between the council members? Because we hear all these things, but people see a lot of difference. But discussions between you all to make a effort, other than you, because you out there, of all the elected officials, to be out there, spreading this message, controlling the narrative per se, because it'd be good to hear from everybody all these things that we don't normally hear about. Has there been any kind of discussions about making sure that some of our council members get out more into the communities and spread some of these things that that a lot of citizens don't know? A lot of people know about it because they keep up, but it's a lot of citizens that don't know anything about some of the things you discussed so far and probably will discuss later on.
Well, James, absolutely. So there has been discussion. I'll give you a couple of ideas that might be helpful to you. In terms of council members getting out in the community, the challenge is for some of them, they have to work through their own schedules to get out there and do what they need to do. I'm not making excuses, but As you know, I'm an independent business owner here in the city. A lot that I do is visible, and so that is what I focus on, making sure that I'm visible. One of the other things we are doing, I can tell you at the city level, we are working through our marketing department to have better messaging, to rebrand a lot of the things we do, and to get that information out to the community. I know you all may recall we used to periodically do the public meetings where we would go to certain locations as a council and invite the community to come in and have a Q&A period after we brought some of the city leaders and department heads. We need to get back on that schedule. I know we haven't done that much in 2023, but that's one of the things I'll be advocating for all of us, all 7 of us, taking a more active role in messaging and telling the Portsmouth story.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'll get one in here right here. Thank you for coming on, Mayor.
Yeah,
it's always good to see you. And I'll make a comment. You talked about messaging and having the other members of the city council go out there and also talk, especially some of them that look for the TV. Every time there's something wrong, they're on the TV. And then some of your members on the city council, and I'm not going to name names today, but aren't the right messengers for the to portray for the city. So I'll put that out there before, right now, right up front, and he knows who I'm talking about. So that narrows it down. But some of the detractors talked about crime and shooting deaths and what's happening in the city. And I know you've made significant progress in those two arenas. And we look at all the constructions that's going on in town, and with that is the jobs that have come back and are out there too, if you want to work. So can you address the what you've done from your office and what you're responsible for as far as on the safety side of the house?
On the what side of the house? I'm sorry to hear that.
Safety.
Okay, so thank you, Colonel. Yeah, absolutely. So let me reiterate: public safety is our number one priority, and so when we brought the group in with the Bloomberg Harvard Institute and we brought their professionals in, we were able to provide a report that kind of updated us as a city on what was happening in terms of violence, gun violence in our city, and that interaction produced an outcome of a document that gave us a blueprint. And so with that blueprint, we in fact started implementing processes in order to bring the community together, bring those stakeholders in the room. I had convened a meeting to bring local leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, city leaders, healthcare leaders, all to the table in our office. And we started a process with the crime reduction strategy. And as a part of that, the chief gave us some real important data that allowed us to look at those areas where the crime was most prevalent. So there was a focus on that with our community folks in terms of our messaging and our community messengers that partnered with the police department. For example, those nonprofits like Give Back to the Block, 757 Stop the Violence, Big Homies. We made a concerted effort to focus and commit to those kinds of things. In fact, the Department of Public Safety folks came down and met with us with the Commonwealth's attorney, and they recognized our efforts in that way. So I want to let everyone know we continue to work to improve public safety. You may have recently heard about the cameras that we're putting at our schools. In addition to some of our intersections, we are now deploying those to increase public safety and make sure that we're doing everything in the city to make sure that crime is reduced and our streets are safe. But here's the reality, if I could summarize that. We can't do that work without the help of the citizens of Portsmouth. Mm-hmm. You often hear me say, if you see something, say something. Crime reduction is a citywide strategy that includes citizens, law enforcement, leadership, and everyone else. So as we continue to move forward, we are going to continue to work toward reducing crime in our community and making our streets safe. I can assure you of that. The other thing I want to talk to you about when you talk about what have we done in the mayor's office, we convened a group, a workforce development group, to really look at how we can improve workforce opportunities for our children, our youth, but most importantly for those adults who may need retraining and also who may be coming back into the community from having served or been incarcerated. The Portsmouth at Work program, that is a program that is unique to our city. It is a free program through economic development where you can come in and you can get retrained in any particular area of your desire and need. And we will provide that training to you for free. Also, there are job placement opportunities. I can get you the data on that, but I think the most recent data is last year we were able to place about 300 citizens in the city of Portsmouth with good paying jobs through that program. And so we continue to seek opportunities through the Workforce Council and other regional entities to make sure that we're providing workforce opportunities with living wage jobs for the citizens of Portsmouth. But you said it, you've got to want to come and you've got to be committed to your own future and success.
Yes. Well, you know what, and that all that stuff is great. And I'm gonna tell you is, but there was one thing you talked about is the help that you're getting from the Commonwealth Attorney, and she has done a yeoman's job under some difficult circumstances. And recently, the state AG has come down and has tried to cherry pick some of the court cases that have happened there in the city. And you mentioned that I think Slim mentioned there is election year coming up. People have to be aware that how people will come down and cherry pick things and get things make it seem things are all out of whack or worse than what it is. And so we have to watch that out. But Mayor, could you talk about the budget?
So specifically, what about the budget? Do you want me to give you a broad overview how we're doing financially in the city of Portsmouth?
Yes, because I think you're mandated not to run a deficit. You have to run, balance your books every year. And then so with the casino money coming in and your tax revenues, can you give an overall overview of what's that? And they also address that little snafu that we had when the property tax issue popped up and what you did to fix that.
Okay, so a couple of things about the budget. So right now we are in budget season, and I'll start out with a positive. I heard from my good friend Roy Corby, who's the general manager of Rivers Casino Portsmouth, and the revenue this month, November, last month, was $21.5 million. I don't have what that equates to right now in terms of tax revenue, but remember the casino opened last January, and they're on track to produce the projected revenue, I think, between 12 and $16 million that will come to the city. Another thing I want to address with the budget, what we were able to do as a council, we recognized that our citizens needed a level of relief. So as you are aware in the budget that was revealed, we did provide a 5%, a 5-cent credit, not percent, a 5-cent credit to the tax rate. So we were at $1.30, and with the credit, we went to $1.25. Overall, we're in budget season, and we're looking at those items that require a focus. The biggest parts of our budget, as you know, are personnel, but also education, also infrastructure, and other items. I can tell you our fund balance, which is the rainy day fund, you'll hear those types of terms. Our fund balance is really healthy right now. We're almost at about $90 million. Our credit rating is AA, and it's improving. I don't know if you saw the last council meeting with our financial advisors. Portsmouth is doing well. But I want to caution everybody to let you know that we're still, in terms of the cities here on the South Side, we're still one of the most financially challenged cities in our region. and it's because of a number of reasons, but most importantly, we still have to create the tax revenue for our city to run our city that we don't necessarily receive from our wonderful partners that are here with the United States military. So we're always challenged, but financially we're a well-managed city. We are looking at the numbers every day to make sense, but we will always focus on ensuring that the quality of life issues, infrastructure, workforce, those things that matter are going to be a part of our budget as we go forward.
Okay, Mark.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, in the last 3 years, we've had 3 city managers. We've had 3 assessors. Fortunately, we've had 1 city attorney since the last one was forced out, and this one is, from what I've seen, a crackerjack. But for 3 of the 5 appointees of city council to have 3 of the 5 positions that are accountable to city council directly, to have had that kind of turnover in the last 3 years speaks to difficulty in maintaining stability in the way we administer the city. How is council going to get on the same page and maintain stability in the top leadership positions?
So, Mark, thank you. That's a very interesting question in terms of, first, I'll say this: stability in anything from government, business, family is critically important. Consistent and constant turnover, it impacts us all adversely and in so many different ways. I kind of liken it to, once you bring someone else in new, you really are starting over. And as you have indicated, what we've done in the past, and it has been to our detriment, we continue to start over. So I am always advocating for stability, but stability with competence. And we as a council have to get our act together and not make this about, a contentious process, but a process focusing on good, sound financial management, good, sound leadership, and ultimately what's best for our city. So as we continue through this process, as you know, we are in the process, and we will be interviewing candidates for the city manager position probably at the first of the year. It's a concern, and it has always been a concern for me. I believe in stability. I believe in having effective leadership, and I believe that in order for our city to meet the needs of our future and grow, it's imperative that we have that. So I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I'm realistic. So that's something we must continue to work on.
That personnel piece is big, is a tough job, just handling that yourself, and you've done yeoman job yourself handling that. But I'd like to go back and talk about what has occurred with recruiting for on the police force, and also with our firefighters. And could you address the part where the firefighters in their unions?
Well, let me first say, right now our firefighter complement, we're at full complement based on the presentation that was done by, and when I say full complement, those areas that are critical to the operation personnel wise have been met. Of course, our police department, we still are challenged with that, but I can tell you, I recently attended a graduation of 5 new police officers, so that adds to our complement. And I am told by the manager and by the chief, the new class of prospective police officers will have 25. So we are continuing to recruit and attract and retain police officers. In fact, we're having police officers come back to the city that may have been here before or left other cities. And the overwhelming reason that I've heard from a number of our officers is the leadership. Under Chief Jenkins, he's doing an outstanding job, and people like to be on his team. So we're going to continue to look at that and figure out ways that we can improve to attract and retain those public safety folks. By the way, public safety overall received a 7% increase. They will receive a 7% increase to their salaries. And we've done some compensation things to ensure that we retain those folks in our public safety. Now, the other issue, as it relates to collective bargaining, you all saw the discussion about that. I didn't support collective bargaining for a couple of reasons. I wasn't really sure, based on all the information and investigation that was provided to me, that we can afford to do that long term. And when I say afford to do that, there was never any indication of what it would cost us as a city. And because of our financial situation, and we can't afford to take on a financial liability that is not going to be equitable across the board. We have citizens and workers in our city who will not be represented. And I think that's an unfair proposition. It may cost us more, but only one group ultimately gets to benefit from that cost at this time. And so with those things in my understanding that we're a city of 97,000 people, we have to think about all of our folks, our seniors, our young people, our people that are growing into jobs and looking for opportunities. So that's where I stand on that. We still have some work to do in terms of getting that whole collective bargaining piece done, but it remains to be seen what the financial fiscal outcome will be long term.
Leah, I know you want to get in, but let me get this in before I forget. And it's concerning the casino. Mayor, explain to people, we get the accounting of what the casino does every month, usually by the media, because they are broadcasting. A lot of times, if it's down one month, they say, "Oh, the casino is not up this month." They try to create that kind of controversy. But if it's in the 21 millions or 25 millions, I think that's good. But for the citizens' sake, how does that money is it distributed? Does it come to the city at the end of the year, or does it come? Because I think the way it's reported, some citizens might think it comes every month. And maybe it does, but explain to us how that money comes to the city. Is it monthly as it's made, or does it come at the end of the year?
Right. So my understanding is, the way that those dollars are distributed. So, and just real quick, in terms of the revenue, those are the dollars that they take in. And it's like any other business, they report that to the state. They're required to do that. But as you know, the state will get their portion. And through our commissioner of the revenues office, they'll look at those numbers, and through the treasurer, they'll all work together and decide what the taxes will be that are due. And there's a formula that goes into that. I don't have the numbers with me, but I can certainly get them to you. So as a result, it's my understanding it's looked at on a monthly basis, and then everything is settled up, and we at some point receive our portion, and that goes into the treasury. So the commissioner of the revenue is a part of that. The treasury is a part of that. And at the end of the day, we receive those dollars to the city of Portsmouth.
May I follow up on that? One of my questions has been the composite index that exists in the state, whereby localities that have the greatest fiscal challenge receive a greater percentage of support from the Commonwealth. So with the casino revenue that we're receiving now, are we in fact getting reduced state support in a dollar for dollar offset to the revenues that we're receiving from the casino. Essentially, are we essentially standing still?
Well, that's a valid question. I'll get the answer to that. But it is my understanding to that whole composite index question, it's a part of the school formula as well. Uh, I am not aware that we are adversely impacted by what we're doing in terms of the revenue we're receiving from the casino. However, I'll get the answer and respond back appropriately. I have not been made aware of that.
Mayor, you know, when I was on active duty, we had to fill out this form, and it said, you know, I had so many kids. Well, it indicated I had so many kids inside the public school system, and then supposedly the federal government was supposed to be funding a certain amount of money to that municipality for the kids that were supported by them. So you talked about the federal government, and because that is a burden or sort of difficulties because you can't tax their federal lands. But as far as the educational money that they're putting forward, is that a significant dollar amount? And then the other piece is once a year when that form is distributed, a lot of times the military families don't fill this out. And I always said maybe the teachers need to track, or somebody needs to track that you get that form back because it's leaving money on the table. And then, so can you address that?
So in terms of the funding we receive in our public schools from the federal government, because of the mix of lower income students that we have in our school system, there is Title I funding that comes from the federal government and other funding. So we do receive funding, significant funding for our school systems from the federal government. And that can come in a number of forms of grants and other instruments. In any event, not real sure on how it equates with the military. I'm just not sure of how that all equates. But I do know that under the school funding at the state level, I think there is some consideration for military and other things. I'll verify that. But in its totality, absolutely, the federal government funds significantly. The state takes up a portion, and whatever is left, the locality has to cover the rest of the cost. And right now, we spent, I think, on the last budget about $66 to $67 million went to our public schools.
Mm. And that's from previous years or tracking those, and that's an increase, I believe.
We did provide a increase from the previous budget for the present budget for our schools.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Leah, you like to get in there?
Yes. Mayor, there are a lot of new businesses coming into the downtown area. What plans are there for all of the abandoned buildings in downtown Portsmouth to make it more viable and more interesting for people to come out and visit in downtown Portsmouth?
So there are a couple of plans actually. Right now, we have a grant program where if you're an entrepreneur, first time business, or if you're a business doing renovations, you can apply for dollars that will help you get started, and matching dollars to help you for improvements. Number one. Number two, there are going to be some programs rolling out that will provide opportunities for retail space where the economic development department, I think, will be putting up some dollars so that if you're a retail business and you want to come into this retail space, they'll give you a certain time in which you can come in with your product and services, and it'll be supported and subsidized. And as a part of that, if you meet the standard, you'll benefit from getting support from the Economic Development Department. In addition to that, we just awarded recently 12 grants from our Economic Development Department, I think totaling over $200 to $300,000 for startups, new businesses, and all 12 of those businesses were minority-owned, women-owned businesses that were getting their start here in the city of Portsmouth. So we're working collaboratively with organizations like the Chamber and Black Brand and other business-related organizations to identify businesses and bring them to downtown. Couple of things you need to know. I know you may have heard of Dr. Angela Reddix. She's going to be opening up her program at the old Visual Arts Center of Tidewater Community College on the corner of Court and High. In addition to that, it's going to include an upscale restaurant at the top of the building. And we just had another civil engineering firm just buy the building, the old Bankers Insurance building, and they're going to be moving in a week or so. So we're continuing to bring business here to the city of Portsmouth and attract them and make opportunities for them to grow and provide services here in the city. So stay tuned on that. I think there will be continued growth. We'll continue to look for those opportunities. And we encourage people, if you're interested in opening a business or being in business in Portsmouth, contact our Economic Development Department and see exactly how they may be able to help you.
Okay, and
Mayor.
recently,
Oh,
one other
go-
question, James, and I'll finish
Yeah, go
up.
ahead. Go ahead, Mayor.
Recently, there was a survey sent out about City Park and the plans for City Park. Have they come to any conclusions as to what they're going to do? I know they surveyed the citizens to ask what they would like to see happen at City Park. I know there's some good things going on now for the Christmas holidays, but what plans have they put in place for City Park through the survey that was put out?
So to your point, there were a couple of different options of what could possibly be done with City Park to make it more family friendly, to provide more amenities there. We have not totally finalized the new plan development for City Park for a couple of reasons. I believe we've had some other items that have taken priority that we needed to deal with from the management level and council level. So we need to get back in front of that in 2024. And to your point, one of the things with turnover, to get back to what was stated, when you have this consistent turnover, things get lost in that process. Nevertheless, we don't want that to get lost. So we've got to bring that back to the table to determine where we want to go next. But nothing has been absolutely finalized and voted on as it relates to the changes or proposed changes that have been put forth on the future of City Park.
Mayor, I just want to get in there and ask you, as we talk about the business of the city, I'm always an advocate for citizens being involved or taking the opportunity to participate in the city's business. And that opportunity comes by way of attending the council meetings. And I always talked about it, and it's important for people at the end of the meeting to have the non-agenda speakers and talk about what's on their mind and things like that. And I think Mark will agree with me on this. It's also important to participate in the early parts of the meeting when you have that open time to discuss certain issues that are coming before the city council that they're actually going to vote on. And, I want you to talk about how important it is for citizens to also pay attention to that part of the meeting and participate. And hopefully more people that participate, it will be something where, well, I always look for a council member to say, ooh, as listening to a citizen, ooh, I never thought about it that way. Let's take another look at this. And that's what I look for, and that's when I really will know that the council is paying attention to the citizens. But I think more citizens come up during those times when you have open dialogue on issues that you're about to vote on. I think it will be effective. Mark has been doing it for years. A lot of times he makes some great points and the vote still goes a different way. But I think over the years, and Mark can answer this, he might have made some points where it really made the city council think about, what they're about to vote on. So talk about, said all that to say for you to talk about how important it is for citizens also to take advantage of that opportunity during those times where you actually going to vote on issues that's going to affect them. And it's good, to air it out at the end of the meeting. But and a point too, it used to be where you could only talk at one of the two. And now, Mark, you agree. At one time, if you signed up to talk at the end, you couldn't participate, or if you participated in the beginning of the meeting, you couldn't talk at the end. But I think now you can do both. So it gives citizens opportunity to participate both ways. But again, talk about how important it is for citizens to participate, because a lot of times you ask several times, even if you're not signed up, if you have if you want to talk about this issue we're about to vote on, come up now, or be quiet.
Well,
anyway, go ahead.
Well, James, to your point here, in terms of my fundamental belief, our community is a community of the people, for the people, by the people. And to the degree that we operate as a council and leaders that you all elect to do the business of the people depends on your participation. We can't have a good city, a good, effective city council without feedback and without citizens coming forward. And Mark can attest to that. He and I have had conversations on many of items. But let me clear up a couple of things. First of all, on a public hearing, any citizen can come and speak on a public hearing item. First of all, you do not, and you are not required to have signed up for that in order to speak about that particular public hearing item. Under the city manager's report, those items that fall under the ordinances and resolutions, you typically have to sign up for those, okay, under the city manager's report. Then under the non-agenda speakers, that's an opportunity for you as a citizen to come forward with your concern as it relates to something that might be going on with you in terms of your home, your property, or something you want to talk about that's going on in the city. You're required to sign up for those as well. But the good news is when you sign up, you'll have an opportunity to speak to your concerns and be heard not only by the council, but by the citizens. And I applaud those citizens that come forward and speak about the matters of concern to them. Remember, these folks are not public speakers. They are citizens of the city of Portsmouth, and they take out of their valuable time an opportunity to come and share with us their concerns. And so we need to listen to them to the best of our ability. Now, one thing, I'm really big on, we say it in our speaker rules, and I know Mark disagrees with some of our speaker rule language, but at the end of the day, it has to be respectful dialogue. It has to be orderly, and it has to be something the council can affect. And those are real things. And if we know about it, we can certainly deliberate about it and hopefully come to a conclusion or a direction that is beneficial to the majority of our citizens.
Mayor, over the last, say, 3 years, the city has experienced a lot of growth and has benefited from the outstanding leadership that you have provided this city, and have gotten through a lot of tough times. And, coming out of the pandemic, and that by itself is an extraordinary accomplishment. And now that you're in your last year, I'm hoping to put you on the spot here and talk about the next 4 years as the mayor.
Well, Colonel, let me just say this, and I truly believe this. So when I became mayor, I had not been a mayor before. And I think that whenever you come into a new role, and I know you will agree, being a military man, there's a learning curve. When you come to a new duty station, you may be familiar with the job, but you've got to get to know the landscape. You've got to get to know the players. You've got to get to know your leadership team. There are a lot of things that you need to get done in order to be effective. Is that fair?
Yes, yes.
So what I have envisioned in my first 4 years, as tumultuous as it has been, I really wanted to learn how to be the leader that our city needed and to bring my skill sets to the table and my talents and work with like-minded folks to achieve the goals that we have set forth. For example, we have a comprehensive plan that is up to 2025. We need to get back together as a council to review that plan with the citizens and say, hey, look, are we on track? Have we done the things? And what do we need to do to change that and improve it as we go forward? Because it's important that you all know what's happening. But I will tell you, in my first 4 years, I think we have had some successes. And so I believe there are more things to get done to put our city in an even better footing going forward. And so as I sit here today, I am absolutely going to ask the citizens of Portsmouth to give me 4 more years to get those things done with the team of my city council and the city leadership staff so that we can continue to improve the quality of life for our citizens to make Portsmouth the best city to live, work, and play. And I'll say this to you, part of my vision as a workforce leader and a workforce champion here in the region is to make Portsmouth the #1 city for workforce development, to create and bring good jobs for our young people and our folks who need those good paying jobs that will enable them to have a good quality of life. So that's just one example of where we're going to be moving in the next 4 years.
Excellent.
Mayor, you mentioned our standings in the region, and over the past years, well, before regionalism has been an important topic for the city of Portsmouth and all the cities throughout the Hampton Roads. Don't hear a lot now about regionalism and how important it is. It might be taking place, but like I said, I don't hear a lot about it. It used to be a focal point of the city about regionalism and each city, having their own niche, but coming together on certain issues in order to improve the whole community, and which every city will benefit from. So, what is your stance on regionalism and what's been going on now and toward the future as far as regionalism?
So I'm glad that you asked that. And before I get to regionalism, you are absolutely correct. Every city has its own little niche here in Hampton Roads, particularly on the south side. Portsmouth isn't Chesapeake, it's not Suffolk, it's not Virginia Beach. We are a historic port city with a whole lot of DNA as it relates to the blue collar ship repair and shipyard industry. And that's who we are. And we're a number of other things too. We're a diverse community that is really moving in a positive direction. But regionally, what is the hook? What is the benefit of regionalism? Well, I'll tell you, having served and currently serving on regional boards, and Mark can attest to this because he served on community regional boards. Having a seat at the table, for example, with transportation. As you know, we in the city of Portsmouth, we are part of Hampton Roads Transportation, and those folks at HRT provide a level of service to move our people, and particularly the underserved communities that don't have transportation, to jobs and other opportunities throughout our city. Without the regional collaboration in transportation and moving our people, we would be at a serious disadvantage. That's one example. The other regional benefit that I see is the collaborative of the bridges and tunnels and creating roads and improving our infrastructure as it relates to how we move about Hampton Roads and the region. That's another regional effort that probably wouldn't be as robust and wouldn't be as effective if we didn't have regionalism. Couple of other initiatives that we're working on, as the region, we have a General Assembly agenda that we promote and we put forward to the General Assembly as well. Couple of areas of focus right now are regional crime reduction and supporting that area. Also, affordable housing. looking at it from a regional area, a regional perspective, and how can we put together our regional challenges in terms of affordable housing and make it a singular focus to bring affordable housing to our localities. That's a big deal right now, and we need to get in front of that. And so we're working very deliberately and intentionally with our folks at the HRTPO, the Hampton Roads Planning Organization, Transportation and Planning Organization, to make sure that we're focusing on those areas. And to the point, regionalism brings support. We're better and we're stronger when we come as a group versus when we come individually on the big items. For example, toll relief. I know that there was some regional focus with toll relief. Certainly at the General Assembly and other areas, they focused on that. But if with regionalism, we have an opportunity to get a lot of the big things done collaboratively, and it's happening and it's working. Mark.
Okay, Mark.
Yes, on the transportation, to dovetail from the transportation, and this is something on a lighter note. I was expecting that we weren't just going to shift lanes on the Churchman Bridge. We'd have ribbon cutting. We'd have a multimodal transportation regatta across that new, safe, fairly wide, multi-purpose lane that we have. And it was just perfunctory, routine. They just one day close the bridge, and then all of a sudden we're traveling over the new lanes. Where's our regatta?
Well, I can tell you there was a talk about a regatta for sure. However, there was some other considerations, safety, and we just weren't able to get it done. Now, as you know, they moved the lanes because the other side is going to undergo a rehab. And so I think what will be more beneficial, and certainly I'll talk to the leadership at the city to see how we pull this off. Once the other rehab is done, I think that would be appropriate to have the regatta or have the big blow up and the balloons and perhaps everything, because it is a project that was a collaborative, but it's something that I think will improve traffic, that will improve transportation in the city of Portsmouth ultimately. So keep that with me, sir. Send me a message on that, and I'll make sure that we move that forward. How's that?
Perfect. I got one other question. I have a comment when we talked about regionalism for those out there in electron lands. And I think I'll summarize it by when we say regionalism, it is almost equal to having an interconnectiveness or interconnectiveship of the other cities in our geographical area. And as you said, if you can get the other folks or the leadership together and you solve these problems together, then you can accomplish a lot. And I think, Mayor, you've been a more than excellent spokesman carrying that forward and representing the city for this time. And I know we're getting close to the end of this show, but I'd like to thank you for what you've done in the past and look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future in the next 4 years.
Well, Colonel, thank you. Let me just give you one more example of regionalism. So as you know, the Workforce Council is our regional workforce organization. About a year or so ago, I was recognized as the region-wide workforce champion for Workforce Council. And I say that, why did I receive that award? I thought about it because I don't like receiving awards. But when they came to me and they said, Mayor, we're going to present this award to you, they did this big video shoot with me and asked me why was I such a advocate and supporter of workforce. Well, if you know me, I have a blue collar background. My mother worked in a paper mill. I worked in a paper mill. So with that blue collar background, I want to make sure that not only are we at the table, but we are in the seat where we're driving folks to understand that Portsmouth is that blue collar town, and we want to create real opportunities for our citizens. And so just recently, I was in Danville this past week looking at their CTE workforce programs, because we're going to bring more here to Portsmouth so that we can show the region that we know how to get it done. And from that, the region will take our blueprint and they'll take it all over the region and make those other cities successful. It's not us against them. It's us working together to create an opportunity for all of our citizens, to thrive and prosper in this regional and local economy. So that's just one example that I demonstrate on a daily basis, and I will always advocate for those who are trying to improve their own lives.
Okay, as we come to the close of this hour, Mayor, I'd like to thank you for coming on. And it's definitely going to have to be a part 2 before the end of the year, because there's some other issues we'd like to discuss. And right at the end, it was education was brought up, so we want to talk about that more. And we want to talk about some more things in the future. But we also want to talk about some corrective things that are being worked on that maybe citizens may have seen during the past years that might need some tweaking and things like that. So we want to talk about that, but we'll have a part 2 in order to get into that, but mostly to talk more about Portsmouth going forward and what we can do to make sure that anything in the past won't affect us going forward in the future, that we can look forward a bright future. But anyway, thanks again. And I want to ask any of the hosts if they have any last comments or one last question before we sign out. And
I know I told you I wasn't going to stay the entire time, but I
but
guess
you
I
couldn't help it.
managed to do so. However, in my closing statement, first of all, Mayor, I want to say thank you for coming on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, first and foremost. And secondly, I just got to give a plug for downtown Portsmouth on Saturday, our little Hallmark moment. My sister has me caught up with these Hallmark Christmas shows here lately. Well, downtown Portsmouth is our Hallmark show on Saturdays. And I encourage you to come to downtown Portsmouth. I think it's between the hours of 9 and 2, Mayors at 9 or 10 and
That's
2.
correct.
And you come down there. Last week they had the Grinch and they had the snowman, and it was just a wonderful day to be in downtown Portsmouth. And when you're there at the farmers market, I must say that James and Kathleen Cullen, they've done an amazing job with their team, with all of the great works that's going on down there. I think next week the gingerbread man is supposed to show up and come running by, but it's just a great time. And when you're in downtown Portsmouth on Saturdays, you get the feel that we are truly that town that really loves each other, because people who are down there on Saturday, the smiles on their faces and the warmth in which they greet each other, it's just a wonderful moment in the city of Portsmouth. And I wish that that moment could extend beyond Saturday throughout the city of Portsmouth, but it's a great time. And once again, have to give a plug for the Old Town Farmers Market. They're doing an amazing job. And I feel badly when I don't make a Saturday down there. So get down and see what's going on. And also in City Park with the Hokies, it's a Hokey Pokey, the little train ride.
Pokey Smoky.
Smoky, say it
Pokey
again.
Smoky.
Okay.
Pokey,
They have that going on at the
Pokey
City Park.
Smoky.
You can take your family down there and enjoy the activities that's taking place at City Park as well. I just wanted to get that in, Mayor, to say about some great things going on in the city of Portsmouth. Thank you.
And Leah, if I could add real quick, on December 9th, we'll have Joe Harmon and the beautiful chorus at IC Norcom will be downtown singing Christmas carols. Are you aware of that?
Right. And I think the other schools are going to be involved as well. Are they not?
That's correct.
That's the time when all the schools come out and you go to every corner and you hear them singing and performing.
That's correct.
It's an amazing time in downtown Portsmouth.
Correct.
Anybody else?
Thank you, Mayor, for turning out. I'd like to say that it gets easier every time you get up at this time of the morning, but not in my experience yet.
But Mike, Matt, Mark, we appreciate you. We appreciate your involvement, and we're glad to have you here as a part of our team. But anyway, Colonel, did you have any?
Yeah, I've already said my goodbyes and or closing remarks, but I'm gonna tell you, every time I listen to the mayor, it is inspiring. And coming from a person that spent 36 years in the military and seen seen the full spectrum of leadership across the board, you're at the top of it. Thanks for showing up today.
And isn't that a novelty? You know, Army guy giving a Navy guy some credit.
Listen, I got love for the Army. My father-in-law and our son served in the United States Army. So my father-in-law is my hero. He's gone now, but yeah, I love the Army.
Yes.
We definitely appreciate all the branches of the service. But again, thanks everybody for watching, and please join us this Thursday as we have another a guest and a panel discussion. Be aware, be informed, and most of all, be involved, and take care. We'll see
Happy
you next time.
holidays, everybody. Happy
Good night.
holidays.
Happy
Merry Christmas.
holidays.
Bye-bye.